This commenter said, "So your dad was a racist?" Yes, he was. It's something I've talked about at great length in numerous videos. My dad was a product of programming that he could never shake, unfortunately. I myself was a product of that same programming. I was made to believe that I was better than people of color because I was white. I was made to believe I was better than members of the LGBTQ plus community because I was straight. I was made to believe I was better than women because I'm a man. And my father was the same way. However, one thing I can tell you about my father is he was either an extraordinarily confused racist or he just didn't realize the type of programming he had. When my father and stepmother Josephine lived in Berwyn, near 26th and Oak Park, my father used to rail away against all the Mexicans in town. But his best friend was the Mexican guy who lived across the alley. He used to hang out in the alley and talk. The old man used to go across the alley and help him with projects. That guy used to come over across the alley and help my old man with projects. When my father passed out in the bathroom, the guy who helped my stepmother get him up off the floor was that Mexican gentleman. My father used to complain about the N-words. N-word this, N-word that, N-word this, N-word that. A word that I've used 1,000,000 times in my life. But my father's best friend at work was a black gentleman from the South Side. They used to give each other shit all the time, but they loved each other. They were very good friends. And so my father was a product of programming that I am not totally convinced he held the views that he at least outwardly portrayed, at least not in full. When my father was dying and was living with us, I had an opportunity to speak with him. And I had an opportunity to speak with him about policy before Obama's re-election. And I asked him where he stood on a few things. And my father, in his late 60s, extraordinarily racist, extraordinarily homophobic, extraordinarily sexist, while he said to me he could never bring himself to vote for Obama because the only black man that deserved to be, that belonged in the White House was the person that was serving the real president, the policy positions that my father held said a different thing to me. My father believed that everybody should have his Medicare. That nobody should ever have to struggle in this country because they got sick. He said that my Medicare can work for everybody and we can make it work in this country, and I don't understand why they don't just do it. My father expressed to me that he didn't give a shit who got married, who was sleeping with who. It was none of his business. And my father did from time to time express his, I don't know what the right term is, but fascination, amazement of women in industry that made a success out of themselves. My wife being one of them. So I believe him to have been a product of some extraordinarily bad programming. That doesn't make him innocent. That doesn't mean that there's an excuse for everything that came out of his mouth, just like there wasn't an excuse for everything that came out of my mouth. Just like there wasn't an excuse for the viewpoints that I held for an extraordinarily long period of time. But to answer your question, yes. Yes, he was. Unfortunately, that was something that he never shook and took to his grave. It did provide me with an excellent teaching opportunity because my father lived with us for the last 4 years of his life, and whenever he would say something racist or sexist or homophobic and my kids could hear it because it was right in front of my kids, it provided me with an opportunity to immediately turn to my kids in front of my father and say, and that is something we don't say. That is a viewpoint that we don't hold. That is an incorrect view of the world. He taught me a few things in my life, and the last thing he taught me was what not to be in my second half of life. Wish he would have shaken it earlier, though. Wish he would have had an opportunity to maybe make amends for some of his viewpoints.